Do you finally want to do something about those hips? Do you feel like tightness or stiffness around the hip area? And do you notice like how it affects everything you do? So this is in your training when you're doing squats or single leg squats or deadlifts, but also throughout the day. So this is going to be when you're sitting down, when you're working on the laptop. This is going to be when you're out, you're walking, you're standing, like your hips need to be stable, like to support you. And then as well, they need to be mobile. So a big part of this is actually going to be regaining the ability of the hips, like to rotate. And this is what I want to cover in this video. I'm going to give you 2 super cool exercises that I have found to be so impactful in my journey. And then hopefully it can help you to mobilize those hips. Hey guys, it's Solly from Femur Fitness, and today I want to cover like hip rotation. So by definition, your hips are meant to rotate. So you need to learn how to connect the rotation from the femur and then also the hip socket itself. So when you get this like deep underlying feeling of like getting your femur to rotate in relation to your hip or vice versa, this is where you are going to uncover a lot more mobility and stability in the hips, which is then going to help you in, once again, every single thing you do throughout the day, right? If the hips are meant to rotate, then we need to practice rotating them on a frequent basis. So this is with light load, so mobility work, but also incorporating it in your strength training as well, because it's not just about the mobility side of it, but you also need to improve it on the stability and on the strength side of it as well, right? So that's a video for another time. Right now, I want to focus on the mobility and the stability. The mobility and stability side of it, right? With these 2 simple exercises you can do at home, no equipment needed, or you can do before your leg training. So let's get into it. Okay, so you're not gonna be able to see my face for this shot, but it's fine. We're not here to see my face. We're here to learn more about the hip. So we are gonna be working on femur rotation and pelvic rotation, okay? Because we have 2 bones, so we have our leg, our femur, and then we have our hip, so the hip socket itself, right? So we're going to rotate them with one part leading from the femur and the other part leading from the hip, the pelvis. So if I'm standing here, I'm balancing. So this is already requiring quite a lot of stability on this side of the hip, right? So I'm getting that stability from the hip, translating all the way down to my foot, and that's what's going to be working each joint. So get a benefit, get a bonus of working all the lower body joints. So, and then now with this leg, I just want to do this small, tiny little movement, which is going to look insignificant, but it's actually very significant, because if your hips are stiff and you don't understand how the hip rotates, then you don't need to be doing heavy movements to try to gain that understanding and that technique. So if I'm standing, stabilizing, I'm feeling the right leg working. Now I'm going into rotation of the femur. So right now my femur is rotating independently of any other joint. Yes, there's going to be like some slight deviations around my body, but I want to minimize that and just work on this rotation. So what I want you to do, this one, you're going to hold for about 45 to 60 seconds. While this leg is going to be burning because it's trying to stabilize, but this leg I'm trying to work on that mobility. So I do that for 45 to 60 seconds, and then straight after you go into now the pelvic rotation. So now if I look at this hip, so this femur is going to stay still, but now my pelvis is rotating in relation to the femur. So the femur is solid, it's straight, and then now I am rotating the hip, the pelvis, in relation to it, right? So really small movements, but you do that for one set, and then now you change to the other side. So you do the same on this side as well. I can show you real quick. So really what I like to actually tell some of my students is like we're working more than just the muscle. So don't think about what do I feel in my muscles, what do I feel, where am I supposed to feel it? Just think more of actually deeper. What's my bone doing, you know? What are my ligaments doing? What do my tendons feel like, you know? All that kind of stuff. To try to get that understanding of the entire body. Because you're made up of more than just muscles, my friends. All right, second exercise. Okay, so next up is my favorite exercise for the hips of all time, or at least at the current moment. It is going to be a variation of the airplane. So you might have seen this already. If you have, awesome. You need to do it like more often, or if you want, you don't have to. So we'll go through the airplane, and it's going to be very technical, so really pay close attention. And we're going to be working on the rotation of both sides of the hip while improving mobility and then also stability as well. Exercise number 2 is the airplane. So it's technical as well, so maybe the first time you try it, it's going to be quite tough, but within a short space of time, like when you repeat it over and over, it gets better. That's the superpower of the human body. So from here, you're gonna bring your hip back. So hopefully you can see me. Yeah, okay. You're gonna bring your hip back, and from this position, I'm quite strong in this leg. I'm pushing my foot straight into the ground, and I'm not letting gravity pull me down. For now, I'm gonna use a little bit of assistance to help with the balance. And then I want to start with my knee like slightly bent, not all the way down here, a little bit bent. And then from this position, so I am now going to make sure that my lower back is arched. This is a really important point. So make sure my spine is kind of like extended a little bit, not too much, of course, but basically we don't want this like turtle back, okay? Avoid this. You need to open up, stick the butt out, and then now flatten the back, the lower back a little bit, and extend the spine. So chest up, nice and proud. And then from this position, I'm now going to like do a little internal dip on my right hip. So from here, I go into this little dip. So now, if you look at my knee, it was facing forward, but now it's gonna be facing on the other side of my leg, or let's say even behind my knee. So little dip, so that's the internal rotation on the right side. And then now I think of, right now I'm compressed, I'm shortened, right? I'm short. I want to now expand, I want to be tall. So now from here, I think of pushing, so I'm driving, and then now with the right side, I rotate the hip. So rotate the hip, and then coming down, nice and slow. Rotate the hip, and down, nice and slow. With the internal rotation, with relation to where I'm facing, the internal rotation, my knee is going to be facing this way, right? With external rotation, I want now the knee to rotate, facing, let's say, a little bit more like, if my knee is facing this way, then the external rotation is going to be facing this way. So I'll go with my left side again. So from here, I'm going to dip, and then I now do this extension or this rotating, and now my knee is facing, let's say, to the ceiling. Going down, and then up nice and tall. Relaxing the neck, finding that balance. So now this side is getting quite a lot of stability, and then my right side, I'm really focusing on the mobility. So the internal rotation, and then this external rotation. So you really want to think of like a rotation in the hip, because sometimes when you do this exercise, it can look like, let's say for example, if I'm actually facing you head on, from here, instead of doing like this, rotating, you actually end up just doing like internal rotation and then now just going out here. So now this is a different motion of the hip, which is also important, but it's more just, abduction. So I'm bringing now my hip away from the midline of my body, which can be beneficial in other cases. But for this, we want rotation. So I want to rotate, 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 rotate. This rotation. Rotate, 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 rotate. Do 10 repetitions on each side. So with these two exercises, you can do 1 or 2 sets. And once again, it can be part of your warm-up. It can be part of your day-to-day routine. Just fit it in to where it suits on your schedule. And if it's beneficial for you and you feel like the actual improvement, then stick with it. If you're not feeling the improvement, then try to search for another movement, another exercise that can give you those benefits you're looking for. All right, that was it, guys. Hopefully these exercises help you on your journey to mobilize and stabilize the hips, which are going to be very important in everything you do in life. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one.